Hi there. We continue with Genesis chapter 27, verses 37 to 41. We have just been in that part of the story where Esau realized the blessing eluded him because Jacob came on the scene and Isaac blessed him instead of Esau. So Esau said, "Don't you have anything else reserved for me?" After he gave a bitter wail and cry and accusing Jacob of having stolen everything from him. Well, we continue here. Verse 38 to 41. And Esau said unto his father, "Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father." And Esau lifted him up his voice and wept again. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, "Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by the sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when you shall have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck." And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, "The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob." Wow. So, let's unpack this. When Esau again repeated with bitter tears the entreaty that Isaac should bless him also, even if it's only one blessing, Isaac gave in. He gave him a blessing. And that blessing is contained in verses 39 to 40. And I will repeat that. "Behold, of the flat places of the earth." Now, it may sound different from what I read, but I'm reading it from the Jewish Publication Society Old Testament. It's slightly different. "Behold, of the fat places of the earth shall be thy dwelling, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and thou shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt break loose, that thou shalt shake his yoke from off your back." Here are the common parts of the two blessings. The beginning of Esau's blessing is very comparable to part of Jacob's blessing. See, so to Jacob, back in verse 28, he said, "So God give thee of the dew of heaven, and of the fat places of the earth." But to Esau, Isaac said, "Behold, of the fat places of the earth shall be your dwelling, and of the dew of heaven from above." Now notice that the word dwelling here also means living. For example, "I am dwelling there. I am living there." So bearing that in mind, let's see what was really going on. It looked like the same blessing, but really the subtle differences in wording made it slightly different. Notice the difference in the blessings. Jacob's blessing said, "God give thee of the dew of heaven." But in this part, Esau said, Thy dwelling shall be of the dew of heaven from above. Jacob's comes as a blessing endowed by God. He's getting something extra. He's already getting a lot, but he's getting something extra given to him by God. But Esau's came as dwelling or living depends on it. Your living shall be of the dew of heaven from above. In other words, he seems to need it to stay alive. That's how that blessing came. It's like a mixed blessing. It's almost like a curse. Similarly, the other part of the blessing, Jacob said, God give thee of the fat places of the earth. But Esau said, behold, of the fat places of the earth shall be thy dwelling. Wow. That means he has to take from them. From them. Jacob's came across as a prosperous blessing, but Esau's presents a dependence on the fat places for dwelling. Folks, words mean everything, don't they, in the Bible? We can always interpret, we can always reword, we can do dynamic equivalence of translation, but word for word is really how God spoke. This would be literally fulfilled as the Edomites, descended from Esau, lived in a desert environment. They literally had to live, depend on their living from the water they collected, from the fat of the land they collected from other countries. Sad. And naturally, as a result of this, by thy sword shalt thou live. The land of Edom had a reputation of being very warlike people. But then it continues. By thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. You think Esau wanted to hear that? I'm going to serve. What? Suddenly Isaac must have remembered and gained a clearer understanding while delivering his prophetic mixed blessing. The elder shall serve the younger. That is what Rebekah heard God say. And I have no doubt in my mind that Rebekah must have repeated that to Isaac at some point. The good news in this mixed blessing, which could also be a curse, is that one day in the distant future, the Edomites would break free from the rule of Jacob and shake off the yoke of bondage and subjection they had been long under. That wasn't going to happen for another several centuries later. Well, actually, let's see, 5, 6, probably around 7 centuries later, 700 years later. Because in 2 Kings 8:20, we read that in the days of Jehoram, king of Judah, and Joram, king of Israel, in his days, Edom rebelled from under the hand, revolted from under the hand of Judah, and made a king over themselves. They broke free. And after that, they remained free for a long time. The name of their land eventually changed from Edom to Edomia under the Romans, but they were still there. So to say that Esau did not like this cursed blessing would definitely be an understatement. Who wants to hear I'm going to serve my younger brother? What? In fact, Esau vowed to kill Jacob. Maybe he thought killing Jacob would cause the family blessing to be transferred to him. This is usually what happens to more barbaric civilizations. You defeat the kingship falls on you, and so on. Well, in God's economy, nothing is ever that simple. What Esau did not understand is that the covenant God originally made with Abraham is unbreakable. And you see, sometimes even we in the 21st century, when we realize that God has foretold things that would happen in the future, we say, that can't be true. Let's change it. Well, we can't. We can never go against God's sovereignty. What God has decided is irreversible.